Hello everybody, Elijah here. Welcome you all to another StarRail video, and this is the first phase of the Memory of Chaos. I've already done this before, but the first recording messed up, so this is kind of like a re-recording and a voiceover to just go over all the little tips and tricks and advice that I can give you for when you take on this floor. And all of my units and their stats will be put in the end of the video. So if you want to skip to that, there'll be a time stamp or whatever the case may be. But for the most part, the biggest advice that I can give you when it comes to when you start doing the Memory of Chaos is invest in 2 DPSs for 2 separate sides, right? Have like 1 DPS for one stage that you invest heavily in, and then 1 DPS in the next stage that you invest heavily in, and then invest into your either knights or like your tanks for the fight, or your healers. Those are probably the biggest things. Your supporters can have kind of like really crappy stats and gear and stuff because your supporters are there essentially to buff and support or defense down if you're using like Pela or something like that, right? They're not really necessary. I mean, obviously we would like to have some type of like effect hit chance, I think that's what it's called. Whatever that stat is, because it might make things a lot easier, but for the most part, your supports can be like your last bit of investment. I think it's more so their gear that is more important than like trying to enhance and level them up. Because again, my March in this case is like level 40, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, she's level 40. She has like really no enhancements because I stopped investing in her and she still did her job, which was increase the taunt value of Japard when she cast her skill onto him, because that's what all she needed to do. I didn't need her for any other purpose other than to put her E on Japard when it was necessary to shield him, so that he can take some more hits for this fight. Since we do not have a healer, we have to just survive by shields. And that first one was actually relatively easy. But then again, Jin Yuan is probably my best built DPS, and the most invested that I've put in gear-wise has been into him and stat-wise. So yeah, he does a lot of damage, for sure. I also got really lucky and got his light cone, which also adds to the amount of damage that he's doing by a crap ton. So yeah, which is why I can honestly DPS check this second boss, even though I have no elemental like advantages or whatnot, and it doesn't really even matter because I still just DPS through whenever we get to our follow-up attacks. Now this was a little frustrating and a little very much RNG reliant with this boss because of the fact that I have to use my skills for Jin Yuan. Like it's so like I have to use my skills to get as much stacks as possible, right? So it's very important that my shielding gets up and my March is literally almost dead, but it's fine because she does end up living throughout all of this somehow, some way, through the power of friendship, as some people may say. But yes, this is just me thinking, I guess, about if I should shield her or if I should just shield Japard. Yeah, I just go for the Japard here because it just... Ideally, if they just focus Japard, March should be fine. she should be fine. Any other RNG factor of this is that if I didn't get, the whole punishment for using skills over and over again in this fight, I probably would have been able to clear it a lot faster. But I got a little nervous at this point onward because I was a little worried about dying. Because I didn't want any of my characters to go down at all. That's something I have to be very mindful of. But yes, this boss is so annoying. Especially with the team that I have for it. But hey, we are brute forcing our way through it. We get to see all of the damage. What is that? That was like 17k. I think I saw that number correctly. That was like 17,000. I think it was. I hope it's not like it wasn't 170 something thousand. I think it was just only 17,000. I'm not crazy. Anyway, we just essentially wash, rinse, and repeat If you don't have Genuine, that's perfectly fine. I do think that in place of Genuine, you could use literally any DPS that just does deep. Stila also works here. If you don't have Japar, then either having Natasha or just the main character there. I do think March is kind of really good for this floor just because she can... For a floor that you don't have a healer, I think March is amazing for, because she can just focus all the damage onto who, like your tank or your healer, depending on how your setup is. So if you don't have like Jafar, or if you have like Clara is another option. I would say Clara is a better option for this setup because she actually can provide damage, unlike Japard, who can only soak up damage. Like Japard is not going to do any damage in this fight, which could make it go a lot faster, especially because this boss has a physical weakness. But yeah, on to the next floor, we have my main DPS being a Sushane, and then we have Welt for debuffing mostly. He doesn't really have as much damage. I think he has literally 7% crit if I'm not mistaken, or like 12%, something along that margin. It's not much. So most of the damage for these next two fights is literally all coming from Sushane, while Welt just debuffs and reduces the defenses and stuff like that. I think Pella would have been a lot better in this situation, but she's not build, and I like Welt because Welt's attractive. So obviously I'm going to make him work. You know, I think the biggest thing when it comes to games like this is just prioritizing units that you like, and that's it. Like, who cares about anything else, right? Focus on the units that you like and make them work. Okay, that's just the biggest thing. Oh, I also should say that I am Equilibrium 3, I'm pretty sure, as well as Trailblazer level 47 or 48, one of the two. Either way, I feel as though we don't get the 3-star this, but I feel as though if I was like Equilibrium 4 and my units were level 70, we would have 3-starred this very, very easily, but I just wanted to test this out and see what we do and see how well I do. And I think 2-starring it for my like first attempt is still pretty nice, especially given the fact that the only people that I have really invested in have been my DPSs and somewhat of my tanks. I would say my main character has pretty decent stats, or defensive stats at least, and my Japard has pretty okay defensive stats for the most part. Yes, and we just focus down. I typically just ignore the side, the things that he summons, only because like he just summons more if you get rid of them. So unless you have like an AoE DPS in this case, I think it's a lot better to just focus down the main person. I also want to say that my Sushane is Eidolon 2, so she does regenerate skill points based on the if she uses her skill on a weakness broken enemy, which allows me to save up a lot of skills and do a lot more damage, because I can use my skills a lot more often. So if you are going to use her, I would highly recommend summoning for a few extra copies of her since she is currently on banner right now, because at least get Eidolon 1, because that really makes a big difference. Or, like, as you're going to see here, I think, right, we just get that skill point right back, and I can now then use Welt skills without no issues, and kind of just like keep alternating between using skills, and it's really, really nice. I think here I'm just trying to get rid of the side people as fast as possible, just to make my life easier, and just so I can solo focus down the Japard, the enemy Japard. I will say one thing that does suck is that the light cone that my Sushane is on, it is the one that gives you like boosted damage, but like if you get hit, it goes away. That really sucks, only because like I feel as though if I had like any other hunt light cone that was actually fully leveled, it would be a lot better, especially the one I think is hers. I don't know what it's called necessarily, but the one that like stacks damage after you hit an enemy multiple times in a row, I think that one would be amazing. I do have one copy of it, but it's literally level 1, so I just haven't got around to farming the resources to build it out. But I think even if with just a light cone change, I would be able to 3-star this, you know what I mean? And just some more, because like we do a ton of damage here, right? Like, we are super close to being able to 3-star this. I also could give Welt some more damage because he does literally 0, as you can see, like no damage. Like that was like what? That was 1,000 damage. That's like nothing, right? In comparison to what my Shushane's doing and stuff like that. But yeah, maybe like in a week from now I can 3-star this, which would be, I would even say a week, maybe a few days, right? Just a few days of farming, I could probably get to where I could 3-star this. But yeah, that's the end of Japard. Bye-bye. Alright, and here's a brief look through of the light cones, traces, and relics and eidolons that I have for everybody that I used. I feel like everything here is pretty obtainable if you have the character themselves, but it's nothing too crazy, right? It is nothing really that crazy. I think the biggest, most important thing, like I said earlier in the video, is make sure your DPSs are as maxed out as you can get them, because that makes a big difference in damage-wise and just a bunch of other stuff. And then make sure that your tanks are tanky, right? And make sure that your supporters are just useful, right? They don't need to have the most insane gear. I think the most important stats for most supporters is speed, as well as just being able to, and whatever light cone that they hold is all that really matters for the most part. But yeah, oh, my Welt has 19% crit. Look at that. Look at that. But as you can see, like, he's not really that heavily invested into. I have not got around to that. I have purely been farming for my 2 DPSs for the most part. And even my Sushane, her gear is all still purple because I just have not gotten anything that is better. And then we have March, who is level 40, has probably a crappy light cone and like little to no investments. All her gear is +3 because that's just how it is. But yeah, if you did enjoy, remember to like, comment, subscribe, and I will hope to see you all in the next video. Peace out.